don't know how many of you are new to Reset, but just in case you are, we got started about 3 years ago, and we're educating as many people as we can, as fast as we can. We do these Reset conversations once a month and usually feature someone who has anything to do with regenerative agriculture and clean water, because those are our two main issues. And when we got started, we decided that we wanted to get to the root cause of those problems with a sense of urgency, unlike a lot of people who have no sense of urgency on the subject. So anyhow, one of the things that drove us was we wanted to see if that Margaret Mead phrase that's so well known was actually provable, and it turned out to be, which is if only a group of committed citizens can change the world, for indeed it is the only thing that ever has. And so you're looking at committed people here tonight who are committed to changing the world, and we're trying to do that one Reset conversation at a time. Our Plant and Seed Festival, which we will have this year on December the 9th. And what else, Holly? I forget the other thing. Reset conversation.
We have monthly Reset conversations in that big event, and we're about to do some more work with the Miccosukee and hopefully Seminole tribes on how to be a good neighbor and ally, especially in protecting the Everglades and our precious wetlands. So that's a project we're working on too right now.
So I'm going to turn this over to Holly because she knows Rick and Ellen very well, and I thought it would be best if she did the introduction. So Holly, take it away. You're on mute.
I thought you were going to say more, so I had a little screen I was going to show, but I'm going to have to get out of that screen. Good. Okay, so here's what I have to say about Cultivate Abundance and these two very incredible and special people, Rick and Ellen Holly Burnette. And I love saying Holly Burnette with Ellen's name because I think that we have a common ancestor and that we're distant cousins. So you notice that my first name, Holly, is her maiden name.
Oh.
So I think that we're related, and I actually know we're all related. And that's one of the things I love about the Burnettes is they know we're all related to, including every blade of grass, every drop of water, everything that grows and breathes and has life on this planet. And that's why we're all here. So I first met Rick, I believe, in the garden. I met Rick in the Unitarian Universalist Congregation's community garden, and we started planting with some of his friends sweet potatoes as a cover crop and field peas. I think they were from another country like Thailand. So speaking of Thailand, I'm going to just tell you a little bit about both the Burnettes. That's pretty awesome. And you probably read it. But before Cultivate Abundance, and actually I heard about Cultivate Abundance first by visiting Mission Peniel and meeting the incredible Lupita Vasquez Reyes. And so that's how I first learned about the work of Mission Peniel, right when Reset was getting started with community gardens. But prior to that, Rick and Ellen were appointed as field personnel with the Cooperative Baptist Fellowship in '94, and they served in northern Thailand. So they know a lot about tropical climates and growing food. So they established something called the Upland Holistic Development Project, which is an NGO that continues to offer services related to minority groups along the Thai-Myanmar border. In 2009, the Burnettes established an international office for ECHO and Florida-based International Development Agency. And we have some ECHO people here with us tonight, like Graham. Rick directed the ECHO Asia office until the Burnettes returned to the US in 2013. And Rick served as ECHO's Director of Agriculture in the past, and it's at its Fort Myers headquarters He's a native of Huntsville, Alabama. Ellen's from, where are you from?
Other way around.
Oh, we got it wrong. You tell us that part, and then we'll cut loose of all these formalities and get to the heart of the matter. So, Ellen, where did you grow up?
I'm from Huntsville, Alabama. Rick is from Franklin, North Carolina.
All right, so we got that straight. I'll be driving up that way soon, so we can talk about that after. So the best thing I know about Rick and Ellen is they really walk their talk about sharing food and sharing abundance with those that need it the most. And along with that goes permaculture and regenerative agriculture and sustainable living. So take it away. I'm gonna spotlight you for our video that's recording. But if people, so you'll only see our faces on the side. But take it away, and anytime you want me to bring up your slideshow, I'm happy to do that.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I remember when Reset was announced, and I didn't know you all. I knew of you, and I was excited to hear about the scope of the work. And I thought, my goodness, there's going to be some things in common here. And I hope that one day that we'd be able to connect. And thank goodness that did happen. It wasn't too long. And I think it was during our, there were different areas of overlap, and I would see Holly and some of the others who were involved in our social justice work, you know, related to racial justice here in Lee County, and then naturally food opportunities fell in. I see Graham just suddenly popped up. I don't know what happened, but there he is. Hi, Graham. Good to see you again.
Well, it was switched on. The video was switched on by the host or somebody, so
Got
we were
it.
all available.
Oh my goodness! Here's David. I mean, look at him. Wow, it's like an awakening is taking place here.
Okay, the saints are coming in. So if you're having trouble showing your face and you want to, I can help you even more, but I found the problem.
Try to remember what you did so the next time we can take care of it quickly.
I will never forget.
Okay.
I want to see Carol Heisberg because sometimes she hasn't been able to be seen. Okay, keep going, Rick.
Well, and I'm really glad that we can do this. Holly, we are again saddened, and you don't want us to be belaboring this, but you know, you're making the big move, and you're going to leave a void here. But I'm so glad that we could connect tonight, just hours almost before you take the big trip. But we expect to see you back in these parts. But anyhow, thank you. We are here to share something, and it is not rocket science. It's things that you guys already know, things that many of you are already doing. It's just underlining some of the key parts of how regular folks like us can contribute towards food security in our own communities and nearby communities. We prepared a bit of a slideshow, and I don't want to take up too much time with that. I'd rather have dialogue, but if you see a slide that you're thinking, hey, I need to ask you about that, or that ain't right, or something, you please feel free to jump in. But if you don't during those slides, we will have hopefully enough time for dialogue as well. Is that okay? So we will have an intro.
That'll be great. You want me to bring the slideshow up now?
Yeah, let's do the slideshow.
Okay, it'll take a second. You guys are going to see my home screen just for a moment.
Looking forward to your home screen.
There's my home screen just for a minute, and then I moved something out of the way to play. And now we got a full screen. Okay.
All right, well, thank you. And I'll just say move the slide, but we are all about small scale food production. And whether that is a small garden, and a small garden could be just a container on your patio. It could be, you know, a few rows in the backyard. It could be a bed in a community garden, or it could be an acre. But we are very fascinated and impressed with the power of what can be accomplished in a very small area. And we feel like that this ironic food insecurity here in Southwest Florida, a place that's the tomato basket of the US, the fact that Immokalee, Florida is a food desert, we do believe that will be dealt with through small scale gardening and all of us coming together. So yeah, go ahead and show us the second slide, please, Holly. A lot of words there, just very quickly. I'm sure many of you have been to Immokalee. That's where Cultivate Abundance is based. Many of you have probably heard of or read the book Tomato Land. Barry Estabrook said in the book that that's around where around 2/3 of America's wintertime tomatoes are grown. And according to the 2020 census, 44% of the residents of Immokalee are foreign born. And the main countries of origin are Mexico, particularly southern Mexico, Guatemala, and Haiti. There are economic issues. Despite that being an economic powerhouse related to food production, there is a high poverty rate in Immokalee, and 37% is quite notable.
Whoops.
And we'll run back. And what doesn't help is just the horrible rental conditions in Immokalee. A big chunk of Immokalee, and where a lot of the migrant workers and others live, would be, I guess, described as a massive trailer parks. And Lupita, our coworker, her family moved there in the 70s, and the trailer mobile home that her folks moved into early on is still being rented out. The rent, I'd say that rent that we're showing on that screen, $789 per month, is probably low.
That's low.
It's low now. And the number of people crowded into those homes in order to share the rent can be shocking. And you're probably aware of the term food desert, a place where residents have a difficult time accessing affordable and quality food. Another term is food apartheid. There's the politics of food, which is at work in Immokalee and in other places in Southwest Florida as well. All right, we'll go to the third one.
Yep. Did I go out of order?
Nope, I see that's number 3 right there. There's a number in the corner. So just a little bit about Cultivate Abundance. Our vision, we would like to see all the residents of Immokalee and everywhere else, for that matter, to have access to affordable, nutritious food of choice, whether that food is purchased, whether it's provided through social service agencies such as ours, or produced within and by Immokalee folks. And just eating tasteless tomatoes doesn't really count. All right, number 4. Our approach is to grow as much Immokalee preferred food wherever possible within this region. It could be preferably within Immokalee, around Immokalee, in the communities of Fort Myers and Naples and LaBelle. And so we accept and share as much of this food as possible. And we want to, and we're focused on small scale folks. There are plenty of large farms around us, but they're not really, even if we wanted to access that food, it's not really the food that our neighbors in Immokalee desire. There's 5, 6, 7, 8 varieties of crops being grown there. There's tomatoes and certain types of squash and peppers and watermelons, but that's not a lot of diversity. And in addition, we celebrate the diverse food culture of Immokalee. It is amazing. And we want to spotlight healthy food and culinary practices that are already existing in that town. We don't want to see those disappear. You got anything to add to that? All right, we'll quickly go to slide 5. If someone has a question, they're free to ask. One of our clumps of food sources would be Southwest Florida institutions and small farms. These would be nonprofits, would be churches, very small family farms. That slide, that picture on the top is from the Echo Farm. They have 50 acres, but they grow food that's very compatible with the Immokalee diet, and they're very generous with us. In fact, they've allowed us to have land where we can also grow food. The slide on the bottom is at Cornerstone Methodist Church in Naples. In fact, that there is Jan and Dave Etzel, and David has joined us in this call. I was at their farm this morning picking up mangoes, and they're wonderful collaborators.
And that number is incorrect at this point. This said since 2018, 80,000 pounds of food. It's now up to 135,000 pounds.
I think that's just from these small institutions.
Okay.
Yeah, just from these types, this category of food producer would be around 80,000, I think. All right, slide 6. And then, in addition to these institutions and farms, we have currently around 30 home gardeners. Not that we're not counting the ones who live inside of Immokalee, but those in Naples, Fort Myers, LaBelle, other places. And together, since we started counting our food, measuring our food in 2018, they have produced combined over 30,000, almost 30,000 pounds of fresh produce as well. And then another category is on slide 7. So within Immokalee, again, it's a crowded place. You see those trailers, and they're crammed in so close together in order to maximize how much rent can be generated, I suppose. But there are other parts of town that I would call the suburbs, where people who might have moved to Immokalee in the 60s and 70s and 80s, and they've found homes, lots to purchase, or they're renting and they've got room to spread out a little bit. And that's where generosity is also found, where Immokalee residents are growing the food, exactly the kind of food that Immokalee likes, growing it the Immokalee way. And since we started counting in 2018, there's been over 10 tons of food that's been grown and shared as mutual aid from within Immokalee as well. And the best we can, we promote home-based container gardening, doorstep gardening. And it's hard because there's so many chickens in Immokalee. They run around and they scratch up and destroy everything. And landlords who own those trailers and small apartments, they're not too wild about or not very interested in the gardening activities of their tenants. And sometimes they cut the water off, or sometimes they even spray Roundup just to control the weeds, and they control the gardens that way as well. So gardening in Immokalee is not necessarily easy. All right, slide 8, please.
Oops, let me get down here.
So we are so fortunate to live where we live when there's not a hurricane and high prices and high rent, but it's wonderful to live here on the tropical fringe. If we live much further north, we wouldn't be able to grow and enjoy homegrown mangoes, papaya, starfruit, avocado, sapodilla, coconuts, and all these things are grown and shared and appreciated so much by our clients at Mission Peniel. And the folks at Mission Peniel, they're served once a week. There are other food pantries and other soup kitchens in Immokalee that serve during different times of the week. Mission Peniel has been at it since 2006. And Friday afternoon from 3:30 to around 6:30 is when food is being shared. So it's just wonderful to see the excitement that folks get the food that they actually desire. Slide 9, please. And apart from fruit trees, Ellen keeps tally of the different kinds of crops that we're growing and we're getting donations from and sharing. And these fall into different categories. There are the perennial vegetables, and here in Southwest Florida, many of us, especially if you've been to Echo, you know about moringa. Moringa is actually very appreciated, already known by folks in the tropics in Immokalee. Chaya is a Central American perennial vegetable, so easy to grow, but not as well known as moringa. And we have seen, especially with our food evangelist, Lupita, just an absolute explosion in interest when we share those chaya leaves. The nopales, the prickly pear cactus, they are, that's a superfood and very much in demand. Haitian basket vine, and then regular, your regular vegetables, things like mustard greens and collard greens and lettuce and amaranth. Those are very popular, and so many other things, legumes, the field peas, the black beans, the pigeon peas. There are things that you might not have heard of, like loroco down on the very bottom. If you know about loroco, that means you've been around Central Americans or been to Central America. That's a vegetable, it's a power vegetable that grows on a vine. It doesn't produce a whole lot, but people love it and they appreciate it. Any questions about the veggie chart there? I'm going to quickly be done with these slides, running through it quickly.
What is chaya?
Chaya,
I just planted a chaya forest for my new homeowners. So what is chaya, Rick?
chaya, an English name for it is tree spinach.
Tree spinach, right?
It's a bush. It's from Central America. I understand there's a lot growing in the Yucatan.
Yeah.
And it is probably the easiest thing to grow here in a garden. You just take the cuttings, stick it in the ground, make sure you got the bottom on the bottom and the top at the top, and keep it moist, and it's going to sprout. And before you know it, it's putting out little branches and lots of leaves. The leaves have a bit of cyanide. Now, I mean, you can eat the leaves raw and you're not going to die, but you wouldn't want to be doing that every day. Penny Rombacher, who's with Miracles in Action, she's based in Naples and promotes this in Guatemala heavily. She's the chaya champ. She gives a really good talk on this, but she's, there are, you don't want to be ingesting raw cyanide continuously every day. So you need to, it's preferred to boil this for around 15 minutes.
Okay.
How you just described as tasting like spinach, wouldn't you? I mean,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
good.
no off taste.
No.
The water that after you boil it, you can drink it as a tea. It's not unpleasant at all. There's some literature that shows that it will lower blood sugar. So we're going to be growing a lot more chaya. I mean, we had a Haitian guy, and I don't think any of our Haitian clients knew chaya before we started promoting it a few years ago. I remember a guy coming up last week and he said, I love that chaya. And we were like, sir, you will be getting chaya then. We'll make sure you get that.
What is chipilin? CHIPILIN. What is that?
Chipilin is another Central American perennial vegetable. I shouldn't say that, don't judge me, I can't help it, but I drive around neighborhoods and homes and I'm nosy, I look and see what's growing. And in some ways I ethnic profile because I can see things growing and I'm like, all right, that is chipilin. More than likely that's someone from Southern Mexico or Guatemala. And if you saw it growing as a little bush, you'd be unimpressed. But for the Mayans, for folks, not just Mayans, people in Guatemala and in that region, it is an essential part of tamales and other dishes.
Oh.
I do not have the refined palate to be able to taste that and go, my, that's a mighty fine chipilin. But Pastor Miguel at Mission Peniel can, and Maria, who works with us, can. Do not eat it raw. We had a neighbor for some reason who did, and he got very, very sick. Cook it the way the Mayans did, but it's very appreciated.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll go to slide 10. I think this is the easiest thing that we can do. I have a lot of ulterior motives for the work that I do. And one of them is the food I get. I mean, today I was just driving through the neighborhood, and our coworker Maria was sitting on her back porch, and she saw me, and immediately she called me and said, I have tacos for you.
Oh.
And I said, I'll be there in 30 minutes. So we are constantly getting wonderful food that's shared with us. And I think that every one of you know that, you know, food is the way to socialize, to connect, to learn from each other, to respect each other. You know, we can do the opposite by ignoring someone's food, by ridiculing someone's particular food. And there is so much good food there. And so we have opportunities to have workshops, to share recipes. The Coalition of Immokalee Workers has a small community radio station. And so Lupita and Ariana and sometimes Maria are able to get on and talk about food and culture and health. For most people in Immokalee, I think that they look at food as medicine. And so we have events. They're not giant and elaborate, but it's just a lot of socializing over food. All right.
Food is medicine. Food is medicine. I've seen that so many times over the years, and you know, I put that in Natural Awakenings.
You know, we have a garden at Mission Peniel that's very small. It's less than a 10th of an acre. My friend Colin Richards on the call. He's joining us from San Diego, I assume, right now. And Colin got on Google and started measuring some of our gardens, and they were all very small. The one at Mission Peniel is 0.1 acres. We get usually 2,000 pounds of food off of that a year because we live in Florida and we can grow all the time. It's not big enough for everyone to have their own plot like you do at the UU Church in Fort Myers. But people can come in and they help us out, and they can grab a few handfuls of this and that. And that is what we hear constantly. If it's the Haitian basket vine, and we'll ask, well, what is this used for? Oh, we put it in soup, or we'll saute it, or we put it in the stew. But it's also good for hypertension, they would say. I don't know medically if that's proven, but that's how they look at it.
Yes.
For me, as a pre-diabetic, I eat a lot of okra. I look at that as a medicinal thing. We all have that in common.
You're right.
All right, number 11.
Well, this part makes me so excited.
You know, Holly, we could just talk about this part all night.
We could. So that'll be another conversation we can have.
Why does this make you excited, Holly? What's your deal with this?
Well, in order for us to survive the coming hard times, not just with climate change, but also with the power and the breadth of companies like Monsanto that's genetically modified our seeds not to reproduce correctly, et cetera, I think seed saving is part of our survival as a human species. Is that the more of us that can save heirloom seeds, save the best seeds from the crops that we have year after year, it becomes an art. And to me, it's a lifelong learning process. But I think it's really, really an important part of surviving climate change and surviving hard times for everybody, is that we have heirloom seeds, we save our best seeds, and that we share them with each other. And so I've heard of some great seed swapping going on in Immokalee lately too. So yeah, it really does excite me, Rick.
I mean, if you're a gardener, I've not been anywhere where you just don't share, you know, where seeds are not shared.
Right.
Maybe there are cultures in the world where you do it carefully or a certain way, but everywhere I've been, if you show an interest in someone's crop, you're probably going to get a seed from that. And Holly, you're right. I mean, you know, seed saving has been the farmer's right. It's been what's allowed us not to starve to death as a species a long time ago. I'll tell you a 10-second version of a story that you mentioned that we're with the Cooperative Baptist Fellowship, and some of you are probably like, what the heck is that? And cooperative and Baptist sounds like an oxymoron. There is a famous CVFer,
Yeah.
and that are two, and it's Rosalind and Jimmy Carter.
That's right.
They're at Maranatha Baptist Church in Plains, and Ellen and I went down there one time. It was in 1999, in fact. And Jimmy Carter's a hero of mine, and we were in his big Sunday school class, and he was talking about the work of the Carter Center, and I was puzzled when he talked about a partnership with Archer Daniel Midlands, and he asked, are any of you familiar with genetically modified organisms? And I'd been reading about them for a few years, and I'd been concerned. We know more about them now than we did almost 25 years ago, but Ellen and I were sitting in the very back of the church, and I raised my finger like that, and he saw me. And he said, sir, would you mind sharing what you know about genetically modified organisms? And I probably spoke for 20 seconds.
Maybe.
I didn't say what he wanted me to say. It was, you know, but I realized, you know, he's a bit older than me, and he's a very modern man. He was a nuclear engineer. He has complete faith in science and agricultural technology, and I believe that he thought at that time that the GMOs were the answer. But what I pointed out was that at that very point in time, they were developing what was called the terminator gene, which was if you saved the seeds off of that second generation of soybeans or corn or whatever, that there was the technology, and is a technology that makes that seed sterile. It would not germinate if you plant, and that just seems so immoral to me. It is immoral to a lot of people, and that was one of the things that I pointed out. But the irony is the big seed companies are constantly looking for seeds. They need the open pollinated seeds. They need the heirloom seeds in order to find the genetics to put into their crops. Unfortunately, seed companies tend to have a one size fits all mentality, and that doesn't work because of microclimates. You could live on this side of the mountain and have to grow one type of upland rice, and I live on my side of the mountain and another type of upland rice is needed. And we all need to be seed savers. So we have, I don't know, about less than 20 that we're saving.
Oops.
So, yeah, so slide 12, this is kind of where the rubber hits the road. We are involving, again, dozens of our local Southwest Florida food producers, and we make our visits. Today, I was at Cornerstone Methodist and got 56 pounds of mangoes from you guys. I'm eyeing the rest that you have. We were at the Immokalee Pioneer Museum. They have a big area that they're starting to plant into gardens. And so we planted field peas and jute mallow, or it's called lalo in Creole.
Wow.
And so we are just sharing seeds and helping where we can and just receiving the harvest. So every week we begin collecting, usually on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and finishing up the collection on Friday. Mitchell & Peniel has a walk-in cooler. We weigh, we store, so that we can share that food every Friday afternoon. And there's so far around 130,000 pounds of food that Southwest Florida gardeners have together grown and shared. That's little less than 400,000 food servings. Every week, we have around 350 clients on average. And we guesstimate, based on the census data, that there's at least 3 people benefiting per person that comes in to get that food. So around 1,000 beneficiaries per week. And some weeks we get a lot to share, and some weeks not as much. But that's the data there, Holly. I think we're coming down to the last slide or two. That's the last slide. I didn't mention, you might recognize a few, sorry, there was back during COVID days. I think I see Houston Cypress.
There's Houston, our
Yeah.
wonderful Houston.
Made us a visit, and
Yes.
there's Lisette,
And Lysette and Lupita.
Lupita, Salome, and Ruth Dio, who works with Mission Peniel. She lives in Minneapolis now. But it's just a team of so many coming together to grow and share and try to do other good things as well. And that's our contact information. So I've talked, and now Ellen will talk the rest of the time.
Shall we look at everybody?
Sure.
Okay, so I have to do an escape before I stop sharing the screen. There we go, stop share.
So I will say right off the bat, can you possibly guess which one of us is the agriculturalist? Since I've sat here quietly.
But I'm a fake extrovert. I've used all my energy for this. So
Before you start, Ellen, I just want to.
I didn't have anything. I just was making that comment.
Good. I just want to say how much I've learned in the short time that I've met both of you. And we really hope that Reset would be able to be a continuing contributing partner with Cultivate Abundance, growing food in the UUCFM gardens. That may or may not still happen, but I just want to say how much I learned and what a deep pleasure I had harvesting field peas all last summer and getting them out to Mission Peniel. How much I appreciated what hard work it is to really farm and to harvest food and to clean it and to deliver it and what to do with it. I learned so much. Just my appreciation goes so deep. I learned a whole lot from you all, from gardening, of replenishing soil. So I just want to publicly thank you. And I think that what Cultivate Abundance, also last summer, Rick was coming by here once a week and getting tons of mangoes from our mango trees, the tallest mango tree in Lee County, according to Rick. Hurricane Ian took her out. But next year, with our new neighbors, we will probably have lychees and lanyans for you. And somebody said mulberries grow really well here. So I really recommend growing mulberries if you're doing a food forest and you're layering the canopy and stuff. So I just wanted to say all that because it was such a good memory when you were talking of being able to help be one of the people helping to fill your truck up with food, with collards, with greens, with beans, with sweet potatoes, whatever. It was awesome. So take it away now, Ellen, and everybody.
I think somebody has a question.
Mike.
Hey, hello, good evening, everybody. More, I'd like to just offer, my name is Mike Elfenbein. I'm with the Isaac Walton League, the Cypress chapter. We're in Southwest Florida also. And I wanted to offer, I think what you're doing is amazing. I heard about you from Lupita. She participated with some children from the Farm Workers Village in a fishing tournament that we did for children back in February at the Panther Refuge. And I got to learn a little bit more about you guys. So appreciate everything you're doing. It was very nice to learn from you tonight. I also happen to sit as the chairman for the Charlotte County Soil and Water Conservation District, which is a product of the NRCS or the USDA, our federal government. And I don't know if you're aware, but there's opportunities actually currently. There's grant opportunities that have opened here in the last couple of weeks and extend until July. One is, if anybody's taking notes, 2501 program from the USDA, which gives farming opportunities and training and outreach specifically to the types of groups that we're talking about in the Farm Workers Village in Immokalee. And there are other NRCS grants that are available now. Holly has my information, but I can't help but think that there's opportunities to help perpetuate what you guys are doing. And if that somehow helps, that would be great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And one thing that, so the UU Garden and Reset, I mean, there are other food pantries also that are benefiting, and we want to make sure that, hey, if it's not convenient to get to Immokalee or use Cultivate Abundance, if you've got another area of need, please do that. Please connect wherever. I know of several, and I think that a lot of times food pantries are usually dependent upon food banks, and we have a couple here. And with our food banks, that's kind of dependent on the big food system. And there's the good and the bad and the ugly with the food system. A lot from I try to look at it, why do we get certain kinds of food? Like today, I helped unload with Pastor Miguel. And we had quite a bit of produce. There was a lot of asparagus that looked like it wasn't about to go bad. And so we quickly put that into the cooler. That asparagus actually came from Peru. And then there's a lot of cookie crumbles and potato chips and that kind of thing. So a lot of shelf-stable stuff that comes from the food banks to the food pantries. Would you say that's the majority of what we get from a food?
Yeah, I mean, Mission Peniel gets just your regular kind of, macaroni and cheese and canned vegetables, which is good. Canned meat, which is excellent. They usually either buy or have donated to them from just churches, rice and beans. So that's probably one of the most important things we give out, and that doesn't come from the food bank. I will say that they are limited in what they can receive at the food banks because of the fact that Mission Peniel, serves to anyone who comes up. We do not ask for anyone's name. They do not have to register. They do not have to prove need. And they absolutely do not have to tell us if they're documented or undocumented. And so because of that, there's a whole section of, food that would possibly have been available for us to give out that we don't have access to. So,
10150 Bonita Beach Road, Southeast.
Well, someone needs to mute that. So, Ellen and Rick, real quickly, just to
Right onto New York Street.
To illustrate that, Reset for the last 3 years in the UUCFM gardens, we grew a lot of greens, mostly collards and kale, dark leafy greens, and we took them every Monday morning very early to the South Fort Myers food pantry. And they were so grateful to get those, even though they're a huge recipient of Harry Chapin Food Bank, because they never got dark leafy greens. They would get cabbage or carrots and a lot of canned and packaged food, like you said. But I didn't realize, does everybody that goes through those food pantries have to prove that they're documented to receive that food? Or residents? I thought that they just gave the food already going.
I'm not quite sure how it works.
It's to receive certain kinds of food that the USDA, it's almost like it's similar to SNAP.
Yeah.
Where I I would say most of our clients at Mitchell and Peniel would not qualify for SNAP.
Right.
And so there are other foods that, according to Pastor Miguel, are reserved for basically the qualified people. And it would require a bit of bureaucracy and asking questions. And there are some food banks, food pantries that do that. I don't know if anyone in Southwest, but we know of one in another location that's kind of a sister organization of ours that does that. And Miguel, as a director, said he is not going to do that. He will not. And that is where the mutual aid that we all bring in by sharing, that helps to overcome barriers such as that.
And I imagine the immigration issue and food security is going to become even more of a challenge, and is going to need more of us to support this kind of a movement in our communities. So I'm really hoping all of you are here. A lot of you are seniors like I am, and I know that you're activists. But I also see a young activist here, Nova Spiller. I'm so glad you're here listening, because you're our future. So Nova really wanted to come because she's interested in justice and in food security, right, Nova? So I'm wondering if you have a question you want to ask Rick and Ellen, or something that you want to tell all of us. You don't have to, but you'll have to unmute.
Not really.
Okay, we're just really glad you're here. So Nova has become our youngest Reset follower, and we're happy to have her.
There's another level of involvement. I'm talking about we regular folks, just folks that care, that we want to, we want to speak out or grow or do whatever we can. Esma, sorry to embarrass you, but Esma is also with our Southwest Florida Food Policy Council.
That's right.
And
yes,
very important role of connecting dots, so that we're focused on Immokalee. They're looking at Southwest Florida in conjunction with the rest of the state. It's going to take different levels of work.
Hi, Rick and Ellen. It was great listening to your presentation.
Thank you.
I'm glad
I worked with Cultivate Abundance. I worked for the Southwest Florida Regional Planning Council, and Cultivate Abundance is an amazing partner. We connected with them back in December. I had a meeting with Ellen, and we spoke about having more community voices at the Food Policy Council. And I think it was very helpful to have those with lived experiences participate and have an active role, and really share the challenges that they face in terms of food security and food access. So I'm really happy to see them present and share more about their amazing work. And I think they also have an incredible documentation system where they do, document the pounds of food that they donate through the food pantry, Mission Peniel. So I'm really happy to be here again. And thank you, Reset, for hosting them.
We've been wanting to for a while, and even though I'm about to travel away to the other side of the country, I will remain involved and in touch. And it's really good to see you again, Asma, even though I don't see your face. And Bill.
Yes, I'm surprised to hear you're moving to the other side of the coast.
Well, that's a whole other long story. And Hurricane Ian and our state legislature both about equal parts in that decision. But my heart is here, and I plan to come back for December 9th. Reset, maybe Cultivate Abundance would like to be partners in this also. We're going to sponsor at the 12.5 acres Eco Preserve at the UU Congregation of Fort Myers, a seed and plant exchange and festival that will have vendors and also a really, really free market at the same time, music, healthy food trucks. So mark the date. It's way ahead, but it gives me a reason I got to fly back here and see you all again to work on this. So
We'll hold you to it.
I see 2 hands up if you're all good. I know, Rick and Ellen, are you okay with the time? I think we've gone about an hour. A little over, yeah. Oh, no, we're pretty good. So Joyce and then Gary.
I want to thank our speakers tonight. It's very inspiring to have people promoting the notion of gardening and sharing. And Holly, you have been absolutely a guardian angel here in Southwest Florida. I wish you so much joy and love and wonderful experiences. I feel like you're the goddess going to Olympus. So,
Don't make me cry.
the goddess must stay in touch with us mortals here in Southwest Florida.
I'm not a goddess.
I'm so
believe.
glad you're staying connected, and thanks to this wonderful technology of Zoom, we'll be able to see your beautiful face. But you know, I know you're going to be up there in the heavens, and you'll be guiding us into the future. So thank you so much for all the fabulous inspiration you've given to so many of us.
Well, we did it together as a community. So I've always been part of a team. Gary, did you have something you want to say? And I love you too, Joyce. I just love you with all my heart. Okay, we're having a love fest at the end of it.
Okay, yes, the love fest. And
Okay.
Holly and I have been working together since 2016. And I'm going into some kind of strange place with her moving out of town, and wondering what it's going to mean for me and for Reset and for Southwest Florida. I do want to mention to some of you who may not know that the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Fort Myers did establish this past, 2 months ago, a month ago, whatever, an environmental leadership award that is going to be administered by Reset. And it is the Holly Rowan Environmental Leadership Award. And it's going to be once a year, and it's going to be for individuals, not for organizations, but for individuals. So we will be extremely grateful if you know people in the community that we should consider for that award. And my last question for Rick and Ellen is, what is it that would help the situation there? Beautiful.
Just thought you'd want to look at it for a second. It's
That's
about
gorgeous.
this big. So we are going to give this to someone next year.
I'm wondering what kinds of things in the short term would be most beneficial to give Cultivate Abundance and the work that you're doing a real boost. How do we really get in and help you?
You know, we're literal about coveting your produce, you know. And the bad part about last year, as Holly mentioned, Ian was brutal on some old productive trees here in Fort Myers. We had one lady just above where Holly lived with these beautiful jackfruit trees. We got thousands of pounds of jackfruit from Sue, and thank goodness her house survived, but she said her tree didn't. And then south of you, Holly, there was another place where it was the biggest avocado tree I've ever seen. It was like 10 days before Ian hit, and I discovered this young family that moved into the house with the giant tree, and I was like, this is the beginning of a beautiful relationship. And that tree went down. So Gary, we're looking for folks who, and even if all you have is a Meyer lemon and a pot on your patio, and you've got a bag full of lemons, and you just want to give us a holler, I'll come out and get it. Every bit of it matters. We need volunteers. I mean, we're hoping that we get more and more people donating again as we recover. from Ian, and we're recommending trees to plant that seemed a little bit less brittle, a little bit more. So we love jackfruit, but they seemed a little bit brittle. Mangoes tended to hold up fairly well. But anyway, carambolas, they're great. But as we build back up, we'll need folks to help us go get those and meet us somewhere. Echo's been a good place to meet up at. They've got a cooler that they allow us to use, and I can store it there a day or two until I go down to Immokalee on Fridays. So that's an idea.
Okay, thank you. I
Ellen
hope
will probably say money, but I'm too shy to say that.
Well, we would love to send you a little donation as an honorarium, as a matter of fact. And so should we send it to Cultivate Abundance?
Yes, if you're going to do that, yes. And he shouldn't have even said that, but
I shouldn't have said that, but I'm just breaking all the rules that there are right now because I'm
Right.
muted. So.
Ellen was fussing at me that yes, Echo is.
well, we're putting in a small garden at Echo, and it will need volunteer
Okay.
help, right? And probably mostly on maybe
Wednesday
mornings. We also have need for volunteers in Immokalee at the Mission Peniel Garden. That's usually on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So, and you can always contact us just for more details if you're interested in actually getting out in the garden, hands in the dirt.
Yes, Immokalee is a long ways, but there's often tacos involved. Although Dave's from Corners, and he's like, I never got no taco.
Yeah.
But you'll get a taco, Dave.
Or
This
a
is
Chaya tamale.
yes. Lupita that's so David.
Well, I'm hoping that Reset and Cultivate Abundance can thrive even in Holly's physical absence here. And Holly, I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but if any of you want to contribute to Cultivate Abundance, where would they send money? How would they do that? If people who are on tonight.
Ellen, maybe one of you, or Rick, you could put this link in. I think it's on your website, right?
I think that our web address is in a chat. It's cultivateabundance.org. And you can donate through the website.
Right.
And that's wonderful. It also has our mailing address if that's more preferable.
And I see Bev was asking if there's actually a place on your website as far as volunteering goes.
There is a tab. It's under, I think, Get Involved. And it shares a little bit about volunteer opportunities, and then has a form that you can submit that comes to me that you're interested in volunteering, and then someone will follow up with you.
This summer, I can send a few your way of FGCU people that have been contacting Reset. And we have a current project in this moment, so we can.
Oh, we need them. We need them. You know what? And also our partner gardens. David, I don't know if there was that garden at Cornerstone in Naples is big and amazing, and they're very generous. And I get a sense that David's overworked, him and Duncan and Jan. And we would love to see we want to collaborate. I mean, if, with any of the gardens and make sure that they get what they need as well. And one way that we've helped is to provide seedlings. Papaya is big for us. I don't know if you know this, but green papaya is quite edible. If you're a Southeast Asian, you're going to eat somtam or Thai papaya salad, but the Haitians eat green papaya as a vegetable. And as a result, we grow lots of it. Cornerstone in Naples had, I don't know, a couple of dozen trees, although I made a mistake of saving seeds that year to save money, and half of them came out as males.
That can happen. Here's another thing about papaya, green papaya. I lived in southern Mexico in the early 1970s. I've had an interesting life, and I lived way up in the mountains. We grew a lot of papayas, and we had so many papayas that we learned it from the indigenous people there. We cut it up and we cooked it, sliced up with onions and garlic and chilies, and it's just like a squash when you cut it up that way. And it was really a delicacy. In the state of Guerrero, everybody ate cooked papaya as if it was like a zucchini squash.
Yeah.
So good for you. Those enzymes are very, very good for our digestion. Raw.
But
or-
if you're serious about growing papayas, if you need some seeds, like for that field pea that's so wonderful, give us a yell. We will try to get you seeds or certain types of seedlings so that you can join us. Of course, you need to get your cut first, and then when you have enough, then you share the rest.
Well,
What
I
I-
love the diversity that you guys work for and stand for. It's something that we in this society have way too little of, but we have many, many hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands probably working for greater diversity and in so many aspects of our living. And thank you for your contribution to this.
Thank you, Gary.
Anybody else have a question or a comment? I just want to acknowledge that Graham Scott that's here is now on our board of directors. He's an officer on our board, and we are really happy to have him. He's helping us dot our I's, cross our T's, and put the dollar sign in the right place. And so we're really happy to have him. And I think Maria Rocca's here. Maria's here too. Dr. Maria Rocca's on our board of directors, and we are so proud to be partners with her. We don't always see her out in front, but behind the scenes, those awesome earth moments that have been coming out every day for 3 years of positive earth-centered messaging has been coming thanks to Maria and her daughter Alyssa doing the artwork, and Maria posing the questions, thinking deeply about the meditations and the quotes. And we're looking at a way to expand those earth moments over the next few months.
And
So,
Joan Marshall is one of Reset's
you.
advisors, and
Thanks.
we are very pleased to work with her and with the CAT team over at All Faiths.
right,
doing
that's
great
Climate
work.
Action Team. Climate Action Team, CAT.
Climate Action Team, right.
So we might say goodbye soon, but let's call this the beginning of our communities working even more closely together for healthy, thriving communities that has food for everyone and clean water. And there's, those are that's why we're here, is to try to lift up organizations that are already doing the work. So any way that we can be of support, and I plan to remain on our board as secretary, even though we'll be away through November, but I'm looking for a new Reset board secretary. All you have to do is attend the meetings and take minutes. You don't have to do everything I do. So if anybody's interested, contact us or contact our president, Linda Seacrest. And we'll all be, let's keep in touch, right? Anybody else?
Only that follow up to our great ideas, wake up in the morning in that liminal space, between sleep and getting up, and you'll have some wonderful thoughts at that time of day. Get up and write them down and then follow through on them. We ended up having an international rights of nature seminar through Pachamama because that happened to one of our people. And it's marvelous that things that can happen when we actually embody the things that we hold so dearly.
Gary, I want to be you. I wake up and the first thing I think is we're doomed. And then I have to work through that. And it takes me about an hour of my routine where I can finally get to that place.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand. It's not always easy. But we support each other, and that's by building community and building relationships. That's how we're going to solve the issues that we're dealing with.
I'm really happy about this conversation.
I have to.
There were quite a few people that weren't able to show up. And I see that there's saying something about tacos too. There's also tacos, yes. But I just want to say that this recording, we will produce a little beginning and end to it, put it on YouTube and send it out to all of you in case you want to share this conversation or remember it in the future. And it'll also be on our website. And Rick and Ellen, I really feel like what you're talking about with the cultural diversity of the food that we do want to share is a really, really important message. And it really fits in with our objectives in our projects that we're working on, being a good neighbor with Houston Cypress in the Everglades. The grant we have really is about climate displaced and politically displaced Indigenous people, and where other than Immokalee do we find many from many cultures. And through Mission Peniel and your work, it's a great example of how to break down those barriers through sharing food. So I really thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We enjoyed being with you. Thank you for this opportunity.